Welcome back to my favourite part of the Scotty and Motty channel. Obviously, that's Motty, and I'm Scotty. It's time for another round of Agony Uncles. Before we get into that, make sure you're subscribing to the show. The numbers are flying. Over 9,000 now, so thank you everybody who has done so far. But just, subscribe. It takes one finger, one button.
When we get our plaque, where are we getting it sent to?
Here, innit?
All right, good. As long as we establish that.
Well,
that'll look nice on my desk upstairs.
While we're talking Agony Uncles, why won't you share a Manscaped thing with me?
What do you mean?
The other day I was saying, if we get a Manscaped thing, can we share it rather than sort of have one each?
Right. Two things. First of all, Manscaped haven't sponsored this video, so we don't talk about Manscaped unless they pay us to.
No, but they have the other video.
Yeah, they have the other video. Secondly, I'm only joking. We'll talk about Manscaped any day. We're always available. And also, it's not, it's just a bit personal, man. It's like sharing a toothbrush.
Would you share a razor?
Have we shared a razor, me and you? We didn't live together in Mali, did we?
We did for about 2 days.
Did we?
Yeah.
Did we share razors and that?
We shared a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Thing is, with razors, though, I shave my head. So I go through a lot of razors very quickly.
What, do you have a preference of razors without sponsoring them? Do you have 1, 2, 3, 4?
I'm not going to name a brand, but they may or may not make the Mach 3.
Right,
that could be anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to use Wilkinson's, but then I've gone over to...
Do you cut it often? Not in terms of bleeding?
No, I... very rarely. Sometimes if I'm in a rush.
Right, okay.
And because I do it in the shower. It's all just one big fucking party.
I imagine it's quite therapeutic, isn't it?
Depends, right? I love a long shower on a Sunday or a Saturday when I'm not working.
Yeah.
And do you know what I mean? Now we're in a house. Now we've gone up in the world. We've got
out the cave.
Yeah, mate, lockdown with one bathroom and you've got a family of 5. It's not a joke. But now we've got a ensuite in mine and her room, so it's great.
Nice one.
Yeah, so we're living our best life. Do you know what I mean? So.
Well, there's people out there that's not living their best life. Alexei, how we doing?
I am doing wonderful today.
You nutty geezer.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you try and slow down the violence this episode, please? I've had a few complaints.
On my lunch break at work today, Jay, I went into a pub and I hit someone over the head with a stool. Eh?
Really?
Because they disrespected me.
If he did that on his lunch break, was that class as a work incident?
Well, it happened outside. It's happened outside of work.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, lunch break. It's dinner.
Oh.
Yeah, if you're trying to sort of become a plastic mank, know your lunches, dinners and teas. Anyway, let's say not your problems about pronouncing when we're eating. What's the first issue of the day?
So, the first problem for today is, what's the best life advice you've ever been given?
Great.
That's a nice,
question.
easy one to kick the show off with. Right, before we get what the best life advice you've been given, where do you get your life advice from?
You.
Fuck, that explains a lot. Right, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Would you ever take inspiration off them Instagram quotes? The ones who always push them up, the ones who have love, live life on the back of the wall.
ones that say things like, be with the one that cares for you, not the one that doesn't care for you. Obvious stuff like that. Be with someone who loves you, not the things you give them. All right, okay, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Deep as a puddle.
Yeah, it's that sort of just new age poppycock masquerading as spirituality, as Steve Coogan says in 24 Hour Party People.
Not to kind of piss on our own parade, but there is a lot of people out there who have turned into sort of life gurus. I mean, we evidently say that we're not.
Yeah, we admit we're not. We're open about it. There's a set man out there who saying they are and just posting the most obvious things.
I see.
Do you know what I mean?
I was on Instagram the other day, and this kid in America, he must have been about 17. He's like, "What are you doing with your life? You can do better than this." I was like, "Mate, I don't know if you've got any pubes yet. Let's talk about life advice. You learn to cross the road."
The worst one of those LinkedIn ones.
Oh, can't be asked.
I read them LinkedIn ones, right? And I'm not a violent person, but I genuinely want to go around their house and set fire to it when I read it. It's just it'll be they'll post something it's 6 a.m. I've already got up, been to the gym, replied to 50 emails, had my breakfast, given an inspirational speech to someone, and now I'm ready to attack the day. I'm like, fuck off.
I bet loads of people are phoning them at the weekend.
Yeah, I was like, who are you? What are you on about? Bore off.
What is the best sort of life advice you've given? Or what would be the best life advice you can give?
Always get a solicitor if you get arrested. And
one that's paid for, because I've been down this road, and I'll be honest, you've read my book.
Yeah.
It's still available now, Mancunians on Amazon and all good bookshops. Buy independent if you can, because it helps the little people out. Yeah, legal aid, not worth.
Really?
Have you ever been on legal aid?
I've only been on legal aid.
Yeah, they weren't worth of all the times.
Yeah.
Not very good though, are they? The one who was representing me was about 2 years older than me.
I don't know. I think that because I've done it where I haven't had a solicitor when I've been nits and didn't do myself any favours. I've done the ones where.
Did you stand up and call up? I'm going to represent myself.
Listen, Your Majesty. Right. I mean, when I got nits, like I went to the station and I fell for the old trick of if you come and give us a statement now, you can go home in a minute. And I did, and I didn't go home in a minute. And then I did the community service for 180 hours, so that didn't work. But then I always think if you get a professional's opinion, it helps.
It's always better.
Yeah, before you start saying things you shouldn't say.
Yeah, that's good life advice.
Yeah, that served me well.
Mine, I seen one the other day, I read one the other day, it's like, you have survived all your bad days.
I like that.
Because, sometimes when you're in the middle of a fucking, I don't know, depression or whatever, and I'm guilty of this, you never look back at the other ones where you felt, this is the worst day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I used to do that with hangovers. You used to get messed up. Yeah. You go, well, I'm not as bad as the time, like, when I was lost in Turin, pooing my pants.
Yeah.
That was a bad hangover.
Yeah. What about you, Alexei? What's your best life advice?
In the last few weeks, I'd say keep an eye on, the bit of the bottom of your Henry Hoover. The little, like, big thing on the end. So you've got the bit that sucks everything up, and then there's the bit on the end of it with the thing that you hoover stuff up with. You've got to keep an eye on that, all right? And I'll tell you for why, all right? Because mine was clogged up the other day. It wasn't picking stuff up. And I can see by your face, Jay, you're thinking, that's a nightmare. Oh, my God, that's really sad. And I can tell Scotty's thinking it too. I couldn't pick up my stuff on my Hoover. I know, it's awful. So me and John, we took the Hoover apart. We took the little thing out and all this. And we found out it's the little thing on the end, right? And I also found out, in a more serious nature of this, if you don't change the thing on the end, not only will your floors not be nice and clean, but it could also blow up because it all gets really congested and the Henry Hoover starts shaking and it could explode.
Wow.
So, and I think a lot of people aren't aware of how, dangerous a Henry Hoover can be.
Are you on commission for Henry Hoover? Are we just giving out free sponsorship now on this show?
Sorry, say that again. What happened?
So...
What? How's that dating going?
It's just, do you know what I mean?
How's your day been? Oh, let me tell you, you don't know.
Do you know what it is?
You don't know what life's like.
I wouldn't want to come into work one day and Joe Smith to say, oh, Jay's not in today. And he's in hospital. Why is that? Well, he's after work. He's gone home to Hoover with his Henry and it's blown up on him.
I can tell you on behalf of Laura that would never, ever be the case.
Somewhere in Eccles, there's a blonde woman screaming at a screen right now.
But what we don't want...
injury's never coming.
We don't want somewhere...
Yeah, I might get with it. I might get it wrapped around my head.
What we never want, Jay, or Scotty as well, I would never want you to be in your homes and to think, oh, it's a Sunday, you put a bit of music on, do some hoovering, whatever. And I never want you to be hurt by that.
Right,
yeah?
okay.
All right, well, thank you for that. I like the fact you cared about us.
It's all right. I just, I thought I'd share that with the viewers. I hope as well that, they don't make that mistake as well.
Can I just clarify though? There's more chance of me burning myself with hair straighteners than there is of me hurting myself with an Hoover.
Right.
Just to put it out there. But I appreciate the sentiment.
And it's one of those things, Jay, where if one day it does happen, you will think about the fact I told you about this, won't you? Because imagine it's shaking and you're thinking, shit, it's going to blow up. Why is this? You're going to think, on that Scotty and Motty podcast.
Hey, I was warned about this.
That now
what have you been on? Like, calm down, back in your box, sunshine. We're talking about Hoovering and stuff.
Why? I like him, man. He's a domestic goddess.
As a domestic goddess?
Yeah,
Are you trying to get him to come round to your house?
No.
You watch out for that Stretford Paddock contract now.
Seriously, my missus does not like other people tidying and cleaning. And that.
No,
she likes to do it
the one.
I'm not just saying that. Like, always a cop out, so you don't have to do anything. She has a certain.
You made a reference there to burning your face with hair straighteners. I'd done that once.
Right.
I was living in Nottingham as at university, and it was when the whole Gallagher haircut trend was popping off, and I was trying to grow my hair to be a little bit stylish.
Liam or no?
Liam.
Or Dermot?
Yeah, Liam.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and you're more Dermot.
Yeah.
And I tried to sort of straighten the side of my hair with these trainers, and ended up clasping the side of my face.
Jesus Christ.
And then came back to, I can't believe I'm saying this on air, and then came back to Manchester and all the lads like, what's happened to your face? And I got into a right scrap in Nottingham, kicked off, mate. But in reality, I was in the mirror trying to straighten my hair.
Right, okay.
Bad times.
Mate, you made it work though. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't. It went out like that. Like an L.
Should we get you some post-it notes? Write on them, burn it, and stick them around your house.
Mr. Braithwaite, what's next?
So, next up, we have my wife and 2 kids and I own a lovely 4-bed detached house. We thought dream house, but with mortgage rates going up, we're only going to have £50 a month that needs to cover any kids' activities. We have seen a 3-bed terrace house in a bit rougher area, but would give us £800 spare a month. Stick or twist?
I think, personally, and I hate when it's like proper important questions that could be seminal to someone's life. I get that times are hard and £50 a month for kids' activities, etc., isn't a lot, but I would stick. I would. If you're in that dream house, I just think, and also, there's ways you can make it work, man.
Yeah.
I think there is. I think, like, when it comes to kids' activities, like, if you put your mind to it, and I speak from experience here, you can do stuff that doesn't cost a lot. I know it's hard. I know it is. Trust me. And there's, kids sort of, especially with peer pressure and stuff, they want to do stuff the mates are doing, they want to go and, stuff where you spend money. But you can do things with your kids that don't cost anything.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And then, like, first and foremost, like you said there, don't make any judgment based on what we say, especially like...
I'm 43 and I'm still renting, so don't take any life advice off me when it comes to housing.
I mean, it's a big chunk of money a month that they're saving. It
is, and I've been in that situation. We did it the other way around. Like, we moved to a bigger house that would have left us financially on the cusp. I mean, we're exactly rolling in it, but it was a massive sort of rent increase, and it was a sort of bit of a stretch, but the house was just what we wanted, where we wanted to live, and we feel it. And that we've got a house now that is big enough for the kids to do stuff in. We've got a bit of a garden. We had a garden anyway, but a bit of a bigger garden. And just also, I don't know how old your kids are, and when you say a rougher area, and listen, I grew up in an area that I'll happily admit was rough. It was. In my estate, it was either jail or the army. Those were the 2 career options for you. Yeah. And I think if your kids are a certain age as well, where we used to live, I was a bit wary of my kids playing out in that area, because there was crime, and they were getting into that age where they're sort of spending more time outside. Where I live now, it's a little bit better.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a difficult situation to be in, and like I think there's always ways of saving money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even though it can't just be the mortgage that's all their outgoings. If you look at bills and stuff, like they cut down electricity by just turning plugs off and stuff like that. There's 100 different ways to sort of try and save money. I mean, and I'm
cut down on your OnlyFans subscription. You save yourself. Yeah, that's it. In my case, you save myself £80 a month.
Yeah, and don't put
all the various different ones I've got.
I hate that, man. The amount of subscriptions I've got to not OnlyFans but to different.
Oh, when it's renewal time.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Loads of shit.
Mate, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably stick if you got your dream house. That's what you've been building towards with your family for a time being. The worst thing would be to have a step back and then regret it.
It can get in your head, can't it?
Yeah, dig in.
Can get to you.
And kids. I know from my own. Like I've spent fortune going out. What I would think would be a great day out, and they've enjoyed it, but had more fun like just getting muddy, running through fields and shit. Do you know what I mean? More sort of adventure and stuff like that. I wasn't really spoiled as a kid and stuff, and they were always the sort of ones I remember of going out with my parents.
100%.
I've got 2 goddaughters as well, and literally it's so fun. We just, like, when I go and see them, we don't do anything extravagant. We go to the park and they play on the swings, or we went to this water park last year, and I made the mistake of wearing jeans and got soaked. It was chaos. But like
you wore jeans to a water park?
Yeah,
you went down a water slide in jeans?
No, do you know what it was? I was promised that I wouldn't have to get like fully involved, because it's in Shrewsbury, so I had to get a train back. And the kids didn't see it that way, and they just splashed a load of water on me.
Kids do not care.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, stuff like that. Like with kids as well. Like, I don't think kids are very financially driven in the sense they just want to enjoy what they enjoy, don't they? That's why kids like can have one toy for years that they just enjoy. They don't care about going for like posh meals and that, I don't think, do they? Do you know what I mean?
No.
So just do what they enjoy.
I'm glad we got the parental advice from you. How many have you got, Alexa?
Just the 8.
Just the 8. That's because he's
That he knows about.
That's because he's a top shagger around the
scattered all over the gaff, knowing him.
The East End.
Hey,
of
that
London.
little
A bit like Boris
Casanova.
Johnson in that sense.
Yeah.
But the next problem, I'm out of my depth in my job. The team I manage have been somewhat successful, but it's probably down to the talent below me than anything I've done. Do I step down for the greater good?
Is this from Steve Howson?
Oh, listen, they won 10-0 at the weekend.
Oh, they did, didn't they? Yeah.
He wasn't there, but they still won 10-0.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Ronaldo
Bless
got on the
him.
score sheet, didn't he?
Ronaldo scored the winner
Did it?
in the 92nd minute.
How good or how bad a job is Gareth Southgate doing? In my mind, it's like Lewis Hamilton. Anybody could drive that car, but Lewis Hamilton can take it to the next level. I think England performed because of the amount of talent they've got in that squad, but he should be doing a lot better with that.
I completely
I think
absolutely
Jude Bellingham
agree.
is a future Ballon d'Or, and I think that's written in the stars. That.
Yeah, no, I like that.
think so.
I think that Southgate, if you look at his record, it's decent, like a final, a semi-final, a quarter-final. That's a good return in major tournaments. I'm ignoring, obviously, the League of Nations, whatever it's called. But then you look at the teams he's beaten, and I think, I say this sometimes about Eric Ten Hag, and I love Eric Ten Hag, by the way, a lot more than I rate Gareth Southgate. But I think it's that, when does he beat teams you don't expect him to beat? And with Southgate, like, if you look at that first World Cup run, I expect us to beat Colombia without James Rodriguez. And I say us because I'm an England fan. I expect us to beat Sweden. I expect us to beat Panama and Tunisia.
Yeah. So
Do I expect us to beat Croatia? Maybe, maybe not. We didn't. In the Euros, I expect us to beat Denmark. I expect us to beat Scotland, even though we didn't. I expect us to beat, even that Croatian team wasn't great in that tournament. But when we get to Italy,
yeah.
that's when you go, oh, it's touch and go here. At home, though, we should be winning that game. We didn't. Ditto the World Cup. You go through that World Cup run, we should be beating the likes of Iran and USA. And even, was it Ghana?
Senegal, was it?
Sorry, was it Senegal? Who did England play in the last 16 of the World Cup?
Senegal.
Senegal, sorry. But that was a weakened Senegal team as well. And then it's when you get to France, it's the game where you go, okay, this is the one that we're probably not the favourites for. So we lose.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
always loses the game he's not the favourite for. And
yeah.
that is the issue. I think sometimes you've got a coach who, in that Croatia game, could have got over the line. In that Italy game, could have got over the line. And in that France game, could have got over the line. And some of those decisions, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Some of those decisions in those games were terrible by Southgate.
Oh, the Italy game as well, in particular, is like Italy was so unprepared to go 1-0 down. That was when Luke Shaw scored, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And like if they carried on going at them from then, but just it allowed them to come on to them later on.
The France game sent me over the edge. Marcus Rashford getting 5 minutes was just bonkers considering the tournament he's having, and giving Raheem Sterling more minutes when he'd not trained all week made zero sense, and taking off Bukayo Saka, who was tearing France apart. France players were celebrating when he got subbed. They were like, oh, yes. He was having a phenomenal game against him. Just his in-game management is shocking.
Do you think he gets an easy ride from the British press? He doesn't seem to be vilified as much as others, and I think that's because he's very much a safe bet, isn't it?
But he did the right thing. You remember the little incident where he had his team sheet on that piece of paper, and it was photographed and published in the papers, and he stuck up for the press. He said, listen, I see you've been getting a lot of stick on social media. It's not your fault. You're there to report on things that happen. You've read something, you've reported on it. I've had it in the past where I've got vilified on social media, so I get it. I get the way the game works. It's not an issue. And the press sort of liked that and went with him on that.
Yeah.
And I think he is quite vocal and open, and he does a lot of the media stuff, which other managers have struggled with. Capello was a disaster with the media.
Stone, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was terrible. And talking of disasters with the media, Roy Hodgson just couldn't help but put his foot in his mouth constantly. Steve McLaren, another one, who just didn't get to grips with handling the press. Southgate has handled the press, and he handles them well. So I think that has given him a bit of leeway, plus the fact that his tournament record is good.
Do you think this is one of the better England teams of late? Everyone goes back to that sort of golden generation around the noise, don't they, as being like the peak England team. They didn't do what they should have done, but it's a good team, isn't it?
I agree with what you said about the players at your disposal. I think
doing better.
You've got a tournament winning team there to pick from. But when you're doing things like sticking with Jordan Henderson or playing James Maddison on left wing, you're not going to get anywhere. No. You need to be better than that. And I'm not, I'm not. Sorry, go on. You go.
I just wanted to make reference to the amazing work that Jordan Henderson's doing over there in Saudi Arabia. I don't think we talk about it enough. That interview with the Athletic. I was very sceptic about it, to be honest. I think he's really doing his bit for humanity over there.
What I loved about it as well, when he said like, well, listen, I am an ally or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. He said, I am an ally to the LGBTQ plus community. Me going over there, that can help matters. And they were like, oh, are you still going to wear rainbow laces? Are you still going to do, to push, promote the idea of equality over there? And he went, what? Well, you've got to respect their religion, haven't you? So no, basically. So you going over there isn't going to help them. It's just going to help your bank balance.
Yeah.
Which is what he should have just said. He just should have said, look, I've got a short career as a footballer. I'm offered a lot of money. I get why people are angry, but I've got to get paid. Instead of this nonsense about go to spread whatever he's spreading in Saudi Arabia.
He made it massively worse for himself, didn't he? This is the problem with like footballers who come out and sort of make token gestures, because that's what it was really, wasn't it, when you talk about Qatar and stuff. He sort of put his foot in his mouth, because I don't think he realised that if you're going to fight on this cause, then you fight on this cause. Don't say stuff for clicks. It's just no more than clickbait in so many in a different field, really. And then it's come back to bite him in the ass, because he didn't really care.
No, he didn't, and it was obvious from that. And fair play as well. And also, if you're going to sit down with any journalists who are going to take it to task, David Ornstein and Adam Crafton are two of the best in the business. They're not just going to let you off the hook.
Yeah.
And I thought Adam in particular did a very good job with these questions. So I think Jordan Henderson just needs to own it. Just own it, man. Stop talking nonsense and just own it. But he didn't, so yeah. What do you reckon, Alexei? You're a passionate England fan. Are you a Gareth Southgate supporter?
Do you know what, like, when I'm putting like my United hat on with it, I just don't really care for Southgate, because I think the way he's dealt with like Rashford and stuff has just been really bad. But I think from an England perspective, I get the criticisms of him in big games, but you think of what's come before him, like that 96 Euros team gets talked about all the time. They lost in the semi-final, and they're heralded as being amazing.
Bro, that team is one of the most overrated. That tournament is one of the most overrated performances.
They drew
with Switzerland.
Drew with Spain. With penalties.
And Spain were robbed.
Yeah.
Because that goal they scored was perfectly legitimate.
The Holland game was good.
The Holland game is probably one of the best England performances ever, to be fair to Terry Venables. And then he lost to Germany at home.
Yeah. And it's because, am I right in saying it was just groups, then quarter-final in that as well? They didn't even have a last 16, I don't think.
No, that was it.
And same with Italia 90. Like, I remember when I was younger, there was just all these things going, Italia 90 was amazing for England. I get, like, in general, it was an amazing tournament for football. I agree with that. But everyone goes, it's amazing for England. They lost in the semi-final. But now that England get to the semi-final quite regularly, or even the final, it's now switched to this isn't good enough. Whereas if you look at the 50, 60 years of England, they've not... So the first final for, like, 50 years was the Euros last year. Then the first semi-final since Italia 90 or whatever was the 2018 World Cup. And I get the argument of saying, he's only beat Colombia or Senegal. But Hodgson lost to Iceland. McLaren didn't qualify. And I'd argue, Sven-Goran Eriksson as well, he just kept going out in the quarterfinal, and they didn't have, worse. You could argue they had better players. Like Rooney and Gerrard and Lampard.
I think you've got a case maybe with that argument. I understand you've got a point. You make a good point with the fact that we've always underperformed. But I think the whole golden generation argument, it's a mixture of both. Sometimes the manager's got it wrong, and sometimes we're missing key players. Like Rooney, you had him in 2004. He got injured in that tournament. He was phenomenal in that tournament. He got injured against Portugal. He was injured going into 2006, and he wasn't fit going into 2010. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, played Paul Scholes in the wing as well.
Yeah, so you've got key players that are missing. Michael Owen, I think, broke down in one of the tournaments, and you've got poor management. And I think one thing, like with Ericsson, whose recorded tournaments was decent, but like you say, quarterfinals, he lost to that Brazil team in the quarterfinals. But had we beat Nigeria in the groups, we could have avoided that. We could have had the Germany route, which was like Turkey and someone else, to get to a final. So I think the managers have been poor. But that doesn't mean that Southgate's amazing. I just think he's been better than his predecessors.
Yeah. He's not amazing by any means, but I think he's done... Like, I remember at the last Euros watching it, some of the games with my friends, and like they're like, he's useless. And I'm like, England have won every game they've played in this tournament, pretty much, and they're still saying he was useless. And I get, he's annoying and frustrating. I'm not that bothered about England, to be honest, but I think they did pretty well to get to the final. I enjoyed getting to the final.
See, I disagree with you on that front.
They should have won.
I think at home, which I know all the games at home for England. Was it?
Yeah.
And I think people going about that Germany team, I'm sorry, Thomas Muller don't get on England's bench, and like look at the rest of the players, Kai Havertz and players like that. I think he played, I might be wrong, but that was a very poor Germany team for me. Denmark was a decent team, having a decent tournament, but especially missing Christian Eriksen as well after what happened to him. I don't think they were a team I'd expect England to lose to.
No.
Was it Ukraine was the other one, was it? I can't remember the other one, sorry, forgive
Ukraine,
me.
Yeah.
And which again is a beatable team. Look at some of the players that get in that Ukraine team. Do you think they make the England team? Croatia didn't have a good tournament at all, and also Scotland, who we drew with. So I get your point about historically, and even with a good group of players, managers struggled. I don't know. I've watched England for a long time, and I just think this group of players, you have got some genuine, absolute talents here who you can use right in the right position. You don't have to move them about. You can use them in their natural position and have a good team. And for some reason, he just doesn't seem to be able to do that.
No, the hallmark of it, we'll wind up soon, but the hallmark of a great manager for me is getting more than the team are capable of on paper. And I think the Italy team in the Euros typified that. If you look what Mancini and Viala, rest his soul, got out of that team, because that Chiellini and Bonucci at the back, that was like such an aging gladiatorial, and they didn't play. They played all right, but they had their bad injuries and stuff. But the England team, man for man, were a better team. We were arguably favourites going in at home. So that's where a good manager comes in, when he's getting more than you expect the team to do. At the moment, we're just sort of punching by numbers.
I just think with Southgate, he kills momentum as well. He does it all the time. Like Saka's flying, he'll drop him. Rashford's flying, then he drops him. He just doesn't keep any momentum going. Yeah. And I think in a tournament, if you've got someone that's flying, you keep playing him. Keep him going.
Yeah, it's like the lad who says, should we go home before last orders when all the bears are flying down? Should we go call it a night now? Nah, crack on, man. Let's go for it.
So I think there's talk of it, this Euros being his last one, isn't there? But I think this is his perfect opportunity to go out as an icon. If he wins the tournament with England, then everyone will love him, and probably be Sir Gareth Southgate. And I think he's actually got the players he could do it with, to be honest.
Any more?
Yeah. So next problem is, how do you keep on going when you seem to fall at every obstacle in life and at work?
It's a very good question, that.
I think on this one is that you're supposed to fall at obstacles in life and work, and I think that is what life is about when it really deep here. And it's like, it's the failure. Everyone who's ever been a success at something's failed first.
Yeah.
You know, and failed a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Like how many attempts were there to land on the moon before they did?
Well, did they land on the moon?
Well, there you go. That's another thing. Like how many attempts was there on? This guy's gonna go down this JFK route.
What do you mean? How many attempts were there on JFK?
Yeah.
Well, he missed the first shot, didn't he, Oswald? But
exactly. Well, there you go. There's another example.
I mean, that's a horrific example.
It really is. I apologise to the
Jesus wept
to the Kennedy family on that one. Manchester United. I mean, you could use football analogies, science, and take it back to day. Life is about failures, and it's about learning from the mistakes and then sort of moving on. But everyone, like me personally, either life or work, through failure you learn how to sort of build. It's a rung towards stuff, and I think too many people nowadays sort of go like, "Oh, I failed, fuck it."
Yeah.
And the more I sort of try to look at our society, I just can't get my head around the fact that I think our tolerance level for discomfort and failure is decreasing at a rapid rate.
What do you mean?
Just like, if anything goes wrong, like we just, or if we're uncomfortable, it's like, oh no, bit of pain.
Yeah.
I can't deal with that.
Right,
It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
And we just tolerate it.
No, I hear what you're saying. I do. And I think that there's times, right, when you'll have a lot of obstacles and a lot of failures in succession, or on different fronts. You might have issues at home and at work simultaneously. Money issues going on as well, everything, because I've been in that situation where everything is sort of coming at once and you think, how can I cope? But the thing to remember is, like you were saying, you know, you've survived everything, you can survive it, you can learn from it, you can grow from it. There's always options as well. no matter what scenario you are in, there is always an option for you. And it does sort of give you that life experience, give you that ability to be resilient, give you that understanding of what to do. And now I know, like, for example, if I'm struggling with a debt, because I've had issues around debt so many times over my years, if I'm struggling with a debt, I used to bury my head in the sand and just ignore it, send it to go away, or try and borrow my way out of trouble, or whatever. And now, you just face it.
Yeah.
You just say, right, okay, this is what I've got. Speak to the people. In my case, I'd speak to, my missus, whatever, and say, look, this is my money situation right now, or whatever. If I owe someone money or a company money, I'd speak to them and get in front of it and go, look, I haven't got this, or whatever. And it's manageable, where in the past I'd hid away from it.
That's true. That's such a good point. I mean, that's a great life advice, isn't it? Don't hide from your fuck-ups, own them.
Yeah.
Like you've got to stop hiding stuff under your bed over the age of 16.
Do you know what, right? It's like, I always think, if, say me and you, like, obviously when me, you and Alexei are massively world famous because of this podcast.
Hey, we're big in Porth Levin now.
Everyone is talking about us, and we're like, one of the biggest names in the business. And then you'll get like some tabloid will come for us, and they'll go, do you know what? Scotty used to do this. And we'll go, yeah, we know. We spoke about it every week.
Yeah.
Or Jay used to do this, and go, I know, we dedicated 74 episodes to that. Alexei used to do that. Yeah, we know. He speaks about it almost every week. And it's like, oh, right, okay. They've got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You just own things and just say, you know what? Oh, Joanne's up. I did this. I learned from it. I'm here now.
Yeah.
You can grow. And I think that's what you do. And, it's one of those where things just get worse if you hide away from them.
Yeah, things do get worse if you hide away from them. And make sure that you're checking in on your Hoover, as producer Alexei said.
Alexei, have you got any pills for that last one?
Yeah, I think, I'd just say a lot at the moment, the way society's going is you're getting really forced to try and do something you don't want to do. The government are trying to ban like these creative degrees and tell people you've just got to go and do maths. And if you want to do maths, that's great, but just do what you want to do. And if you can go somewhere with it, go with it. Don't just kind of think, because I know part of the question was about work, and I was just thinking, it's weird. The way I got my job now at Paddock, and obviously the way I'm on this, is in lockdown. I was feeling a bit lost because this is my first year of uni. I'd started uni. I was a bit lost, thinking, I've moved away from home. Now I'm back at home. I don't know what's happening with the world. And I just made this, like, it sounds silly, but I just made this Twitter account as like a little hobby, as something to do. And then I ended up obviously working with Paddock and then doing this as well. And it's like across the industry, like if you're creative at anything, or it could be something like a physical job, just pursue it as a hobby, and you might get somewhere with it.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, just being happy in what you're doing as well.
And stop looking for other people to blame. I mean, when you're talking about the government there going on about like cancelling creative degrees, do you reckon like Picasso or Da Vinci had a degree in being creative?
No,
I mean? If you're
they just put the football boots on and got on that pitch.
What a Brazil team that was.
Exactly.
If you're creative, then get creative about how to sort of make a career out of your business. Do you know what I mean? By hook or by crook, is that the way of saying it?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that goes right across society. Like everyone just looking at the fucking window to blame at people. And you're guilty of this as well. I'm not to bring you into it, but I have done. The Tories, and like that. This isn't aimed at you, but if you've got problems in your area, what are you doing about it, rather than blaming politicians? Like, people.
What am I doing in my area?
Not about you, but I mean in general, when people are, it's gone really rough around there, but they sit inside their house when they finish work, watch TV, and just do nothing but bitch about it. How much do you actually care? This is back to the Jordan Henderson thing. Is like, you don't really give a shit. If you're in a community, you take responsibility for it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do, but I still think you can do that and blame people in power for not doing the job they should be doing.
I completely agree, and you should do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should get on any soapbox if you're only sat on your ass fucking every time while you're whinging about it. Anyway, that's enough for us. We've got a live show to do. Big Eyes there by Jay. I've been Scotty, that's been Motty. Make sure you're subscribing and liking and sharing and caring.
Don't forget Alexei as well.
Who'd forget Alexei?
Unforgettable.
Aye.
That's what I am.